Dwarf bulborb with a Panstrip pseudooculi russus, redbug family. Although initially identified as a juvenile bulborb, groundbreaking new research indicates that this creature is in fact a member of the breadbug family. A close relative of breadbug, it escapes predation through mimicry. Unique adaptation of the bulborb's crimson coloration allows the species to safely commingle. Such effective adaptation and obfuscation by a prey species is rare. Getting this clever creature is a master of mimicry. Albino dwarf bulborb, the Oculus Kagayami larva. First molt is from the grubduck family. A bulborb larva after its first molt. Due to its pale coloration, it was assumed to be a mimic when it was first discovered. It was later confirmed to be a true dwarf bulborb. To avoid predation from adult bulborbs, it spends the majority of the daytime hours hiding underground. It becomes more active at night when its paler coloration is more difficult to see. In this state, it is difficult to discern what species of bulborb any given juvenile may be by appearance alone. It's only after bulborb's second molt that they start to display more distinguishing species characteristics. The bulborb, or the Oculus Kagayami russus. Grubduck family. This large organism has the familiar mandibles and cranial morphology of the grubduck family, as well as the characteristic bulging eyes. As with most grubducks, the creature's cranium comprises half of its total length and girth. Showing a scarlet abdomen with white spots, this creature is primarily nocturnal, choosing to prey upon smaller creatures returning to their nests. Originally classified as the spotty bulborb, further research has reclassified this species as the basic bulborb. Subspecies of varied colors have recently been discovered, but academics are divided into two rival camps over how to handle their classification. Says the non-scientist. Jumbo bulborb, Oculus Kagayami russus polyploid. During reproduction, after an egg is fertilized by a sperm, any excess chromosomes are usually discarded through a process called meiosis. But occasionally, this process fails to occur, and a bulborb individual will develop irregularly due to his chromosomal abnormality. So what, he has syndrome of Down or something? Specimens like this one are stronger than the average bulborb and exhibit more expressive behavior. However, they're not able to procreate as they will never reach sexual maturity. Poor dude. Dwarf orange bulborb are breadbugs, Panstrip pseudooculi orangium. Just as dwarf red bulborbs mimic the appearance of the bulborb, it was theorized that a variant mimicking the orange bulborb must also exist. Recent fieldwork has confirmed this theory. The orange bulborb, Oculus Kagayami orangium. Those are Panstrip pseudooculi, and those are Oculus. Okay. This bulborb species boasts a garish color pattern with a deep orange body and black spots. Orange bulborb's yellow, bloodshot eyes make it clear that this bulborb is excessively edgy and high-strung, making it much easier to wake from deep sleep than other species in the grubduck family. I'm just gonna kill this one in particular because I just hate this one. There you go. The only reason I really hate this one is it's the strongest of the bulborbs, so I will exhibit an amount of hate for this one, even though it wasn't much shown in the games. This one in Pikmin 3, he was everywhere. Pikmin 2 also at the end. Dwarf bulbear, Oculus terribilis doticum larva, second molt. So after the albino form, they molt again. A spotty bulbear larva in its third stage of development. This creature's body structure is nearing maturation. However, unlike mature bulbears, it has yet to claim its own patrol routes, and thus it is dependent upon its parent for guarding direction. This one is a spotty bulbear. They kept the spotty stuff in it in this one. Oculus terribilis doticum. A mid-sized subspecies within the grubduck family. Spotty bulbear's unique feeding habits set it apart from other grubducks. It patrols a set path, searching for prey instead of passively feeding on creatures that wander into a limited territorial range. When entering spotty bulbear's habitat, it is wise to proceed with extreme caution, till a bulbear's patrol path can be clearly identified. So keep watching it until you're certain how it walks. That's what it's saying. Yeah, I guess so. Dwarf Frosty Bulborb Orculus Tomodulus Larva second mold, Grubdog family. Much like more mature specimens, the juvenile Frosty Bulborb is able to create and carry ice on an upper dermis that promotes extracellular freezing. However, they take an entire night to regenerate their ice, which is why they're often accompanied by adults. Juveniles display a smaller number of spots than the adults, causing some to believe that this was actually a species of mimicking redbug. However, the result of the further analysis proved this was not the case. Frosty Bulborb. A bulborb with large amounts of ice and frost covering its midsection. It's unusual to find ice such as this attached to a living organism, as it's cold enough to freeze small animals, and regenerates any ice mass that gets broken off. The bulborb species is intercellular stores of sugars, amino acids, and organic acids, provided with a plant-like resistance to freezing, making it possible for the bulborb to touch the ice without freezing itself. Well, it looks like it has a cold though, so that's something. The Oculus Vulcanus, the Grubdog family, is back. Following the excretion of a highly flammable waxy substance, it directed the cell structure of this grubdog's skin, causing a chemical reaction that produces extremely high temperatures. The skin benefits from a spongy cell structure that diffuses the surface heat, protecting the creature's inner organs. Due to the astonishing amount of heat produced by this beast, it should be observed with great caution. Whip-tongue Bulborb, the Oculus Longolingua, Grubdog family. Instead of the gnashing jaws usually found in related species, it uses its extensible vicious tongue to capture prey. Even before it opens its mouth, it's recognizable by its tapered snout and black spots against its white back. Some theorize that it evolved its long tongue to snatch prey drawn to high-blooming flowers. But a recent finding confirmed that until its second mold, this creature feeds with its teeth much like other grubdog species, to begin to use its tongue once it reaches adulthood. So the tongue will be more whip-tongued in the in adult form. Also the only one that's walking around during the day. Look at him. He's the only one walking around. He doesn't sleep. Not sure if he does or not. It doesn't look like he sleeps. He runs around looking for prey, which makes him even more annoying. The probable larva, the Oculus Kageyami larva, pre-mold. As its name implies, this creature is a bulborb at an early stage of development. Its distinct bulborb coloration is yet to appear, but it already exhibits other uniquely bulborb characteristics. It is capable of hunting nourishment independently without the help of its parents, but it dies very fast, so that's good. The Empress Bulblax, the Oculus Kageyami Matriarchia, Hypertrophic Gravid, Grubdog family. Initial observations placed doubt on the capability of the Grubdog family to support a strong ant or bee-like social structure. But recent studies show the family is capable of such complexity for brief periods when certain external parameters are met. The egg-sac of the largest female grubdog within a given range swells to dramatic proportions in response to environmental changes, such as the sudden depletion of prey species. These females temporarily take on the role of pack matriarch. Also in pack formation, it has been observed that nearly all males not involved in species reproduction undergo natural sex changes. The characteristics of such specimens are quite intriguing indeed. So when this happens, the entire species will stop, or is endangered. One of the females, their stuff swells up, so they're ready to mass produce bulborbs. That's why this is happening. The Emperor Bulblax, or the Oculus Supremus, is the largest member of the Grubdog family, normally found buried on the ground. Its camouflage allows the predator to surprise smaller creatures and uses its long adhesive tongue to capture prey. The thick hide and angular hump give the organism a distinct rock-like quality. During the rainy season, the moss grows freely on its hump, making it nearly impossible to distinguish. This leaves a predator from a stone. The reason why it says it's the largest member is because this is the Empress is extreme. It's extremely rare, depending on what happens. Like, certain stuff like the species almost dying. That's why the Empress comes into place. Only then there will be a beehive structure. Otherwise, this one is the big boy. And when they're old enough, this one. The Arctic Supreme of advanced stage. Or as we call them, the Sovereign Bulblacks. Emperor Bulblacks of extremely advanced age, who no longer display the pack behavior commonly exhibited by younger members of a species. Instead, as an individual ages, it leaves the herd and exhibits more solitary behaviors, which is why we see them on their own and not with three at a time. It feeds by using its strongly developed legs to leap upon and crush its prey with speed disproportionate to its massive body. To determine the age of any given specimen, you can count the rings of hide calcified in the form of a carapace. One ring forms roughly every year the creature lives. Individuals with over 100 age rings have been discovered so far. Sovereign Bulblacks' back is often covered in moss and pteridophytes on a few occasions. On a few occasions, specimens have been found with a rare species of mushroom called a bulborel growing on its back. You think that OLIMAR'S is technically a Sovereign Bulblacks, but I'm not sure, because we haven't seen it. What is the ring on the carapace? Is that the carapace, the thing that's growing the moss? Not sure. Continuing. Fiery blowhawk or Sus draconis. This creature expels a volatile phosphorus compound from its snout that combusts upon contact with air. This fire-breathing ability is dependent upon the air-to-fuel ratio at its mouth, catalyst reaction within the expelled compound, and purification of the compound. Thus, it is highly unlikely such a complex process could cause a spontaneous explosion of a fallen blowhawk. This process also perhaps avoid risk of spontaneous combustion in the belly of a live specimen. However, one should still treat a fire blowhawk with great care during transfer. Yeah. It has very volatile gases and fluids. It's a wandering phosphor bag. A walking phosphor bag. I said the Dutch word of walk, wandel. Wandeling, which is just English and Dutch together, which is very bad. The watery blowhawk or the Suslugians. A variant subspecies of the fire blowhawk. The watery blowhawk lacks several of the genes necessary for the production of fire-producing catalysts, and thus expels jets of the non-flammable liquid. It's a very deviant version of the fiery one, is that it doesn't have flammable liquid, it has non-flammable liquid, so it just spouts gas, like unflammable gasoline on us. This subspecies appears to have only recently evolved. However, the hereditary traits of this variant are dominant and highly robust, so its population is rapidly increasing. This one is the dominant one then? The fire one is less dominant? Interesting. Snowy blowhawk, Nus nivisventis. And this one is the Suslugians. This species has the ability to condense atmospheric carbon dioxide within an organ called the cold sac. The cold sac creates dry ice, and its vapors are then expelled as icy breath. A close relative to its species, the fiery blowhawk, can keep its internal body temperature from rising because the phosphoric compounds it expels only ignite when they make contact with the air. In contrast, the snowy blowhawk maintains internal body conditions below freezing, and its other internal organs are protected by thick layers of fat and the extracellular freezing that occurs within its cold sac. So they have a different organ called the cold sac that makes sure it makes dry ice, and when they spout the fumes of the dry ice out. But it's so cold that everything freezes. But they stay safe thanks to the extra fat around the organs. The hypertrophic Susdraconis, or the Titan blowhawk. Due to a hormone abnormality, this fiery blowhawk specimen has grown to an irregularly giant size. As a result, its mouth and the organs that regulate its fire-breathing abilities are significantly larger, so the firepower of this specimen greatly exceeds that of its normal counterpart. The fire it produces is actually so strong that the stress it places on this creature's internal organs is magnified, thus reducing its overall lifespan. This specimen is also unable to reproduce. So, like, us humans have like hormone abnormalities and chromosome abnormalities. They've put those in the beasts here, which is interesting. The blizzarding blowhawk, the Nasnius fed is hypertrophic. This specimen is actually a snowy blowhawk, that lethal expeller of icy ice. Icy air, that lethal expeller of icy air. However, it's grown to a gigantic size thanks to an endocrine abnormality. Endocrine means also hormonal. Like the Titan blowhawk, this condition does not sentence a blizzarding blowhawk with a shorter lifespan. In fact, its lifespan is actually much longer than that of the average snowy blowhawk. The organs that produce the dry ice are also enlarged in its specimen. This specimen, perhaps in order to make production more efficient. Maybe because this one lives longer, because the fire is not that dangerous, and it's not that strong, the firepower. This one is cold, and as Troubly already said, that cold will put stuff more, well, in preserving state or something. Cold preserves and heat expires. That's what I'm gonna take from this. And you have the Tusk's blowhawk, or the Sus magdentum. Similar to an ancestor species of the fiery blowhawk, this creature has a pair of sharp tusks that it uses to charge enemies with vigorous violence. It demonstrates its aggressive nature when it pursues its prey and when it's attacked by a predator of its own. In the case of the latter, the Tusk blowhawk will attack its attacker, causing them to balk while it can dash away to safety. This species also has an extremely sharp sense of smell, which it uses to detect the pheromone-like scent of its favorite foods, underground mushrooms. Explains the style having a snout to fire stuff out. It has an actual nose. The armored cannon larva, the Granatus truculinae, Litopod family. This specimen is a litopod larva. Litopods, like flint beetles, use internal metabacteria to aid chemical digestion. These metabacteria can only survive in certain environments, such as within the body of certain insects, so litopod larvae do not contain any metabacteria immediately after hatching. Larvae feed on partially digesting ore regurgitated by immature litopods, ensuring the larvae obtain metabacteria they will not normally have acquired. So the mom pukes it out, which has the metabacteria, and then the babies have the metabacteria, so they will survive. Gotcha. The horned cannon beetle, Granatus ferus. Males of this species are known for their horn-like blowholes. When females reach maturity, their blowhole closes and they lose the ability to launch rocks. At the start of breeding season, the females lay eggs on rocks launched by a male. The rocks then become food for the growing larvae. Those once mistaken for adult armored cannon beetles, this species is actually a naturalized non-native species that migrated here from another continent. The horned cannon beetle can breed with adult armored cannon beetles, but only about half of the eggs will actually hatch. This hybrid species has the potential to seriously pollute the gene pool. Furthermore, it exhibits aggressive territorial behavior, sometimes launching boulders at young armored cannon beetles, which has driven the latter species to the verge of extinction. So we've never seen an actual big boy of armored cannon larva, because this guy decided to fuck it all up. Fuck up the gene pool. And decide to destroy its own legacy. Cool. Granatus frostatum. But this one has. This is normal. Okay. Granatus frostatum or the cannon larva litopod family. Like other members of the litopod family, its internal bacteria are specialized to form ice compounds from ambient moisture, which it then expels as projectiles. It technically doesn't rely on cold temperatures to create the ice, which is formed by pressurized internal fluids that act as a coolant. When the projectiles rapidly expand, they absorb ambient heat, lowering the air temperature enough for the moisture in the air to freeze. Ambient heat. Is that the opposite of heat? The Arctic cannon beetle, or the Granatus frostatum, litopod family. Upon reaching maturity, the blowhole on its head closes. leaving in its place the pointed crest of the Arctic cannonbeetle shell. In order to get enough food in nutrient-deficient environments, adult specimens start breathing through their mouths. Some experts have posited that this adaptation caused the species to lose territorial competitions with the armored cannon larva, driving it to intercolder environments. Though this beetle has increased suction strength, it must ventilate via a spiracle on its abdomen and open its shell to avoid rapid body inflation. So it doesn't crush itself on its enormous shell. It's what's with the suction power. Cool. The female share grub with a Hemagaea mandibulosa, F, mandiblard family. The males of the species are purple and black creatures with tapered mouths, while the females are lighter in color and lack an armored exoskeleton. As with most mandiblards, these creatures have regressed to the point where they have lost both legs and wings. They can be seen crawling around on the ground and are believed to feed on the vegetable extracts from the congealed fluids of expired Pikmin, which they get from the male share grub after they're gonna go, oh yeah, let's go mad. The male share grub with their Hemagaea mandibulosa, M, mandiblard family. This specimen is a male share grub. Having lost both legs and wings, the male burrows into the soil and waits to ambush small creatures that pass by. This beast's mandibles can be dangerous, making creatures such as Pikmin easy prey. Same for them. Mama share grub, the Hemagaea mandibulosa neotenic, a hormonal thing, and a large family. The mama share grub will typically molt when it reaches maturity, then dig itself into the ground to prepare for egg laying. However, certain types like the specimen exhibit neoteny and retain the appearance of a juvenile of the species. If this species locates an abundant food source, they won't leave it. Sometimes they will stay at that spot for years, steadily growing to gigantic proportions like this one. Though this specimen has the look of a juvenile, it has fully developed reproductive abilities and can achieve impressively high birth rates. Its offspring, however, are the same size as the typical share grub. So they're neotenic, which means they stay childlike, like juveniles, to these, yes, and then they birth out the babies. Fair enough. Sherwick or the Hemagaea volaris, mandiblard family. Unusual for the genus, flying mandiblards have retained their wings. However, only the adult males of the species can fly. Females of the species spend most of their lifespan on the ground. They do emerge for a period after maturation to spawn, but they never metamorphose. They always stay the same. Share flea, the Suprictus rubro, springjab family. The sensory hairs growing on this creature's orange body segments can detect body temperatures, movements, and carbon dioxide levels. It clings to its prey with its claw-like front legs and sucks their blood through its pointed proboscis. Research has found that the share flea can store energy created while contracting its bellows-like body in the elastic proteins located at the roots of its hind legs, allowing it to repeatedly jump very high. Oh, okay. Energy storage a chunk out of its body into the proteins in the roots of the hind legs, and they're elastic so they can jump very high. That's what they do now. Its reproductive rates are rather explosive. A small group of egg-laying females can boom into a population of over 100 in a month's time. Which I'm glad that we're just killing them. They're dangerous. The Jostmite, or the Trilobitans reversa, burrow in its family. Others within this family wear their shells on their bellies, but this one's shell functions more like a helmet. Its wings have atrophied into uselessness, so instead it burrows beneath the ground and pops out only to spray with its needle-like proboscis and drain their bodily fluids. Other Jostmites remain on the ground for years, or even decades in some cases, so we've never seen an actual baby Jostmite. Haven't even seen a big-ass Jostmite. Don't burn it. The flighty Jostmite of the Trilobitans reversa volanti burrow in its family. It's a close relative of the original bird in its species, but this variety of Jostmite still has the use of its wings. Oddly, it still makes its habitat below ground and employs the same tactic of lying in wait before emerging to strike. The helmet protecting its head is functionally as hard as steel due to waxy secretions in its pores that absorb and resurrect any shocks it sustains, which is why it's impossible to break the helmet. Otherwise, it will be a very weak creature. Swooping snitchbug, or the Scarponica Scarponets family. The Scarponets originally lived on the ground, sporting poorly developed vestigial wings. This species developed enlarged antennae that can be used as makeshift wings. Scarponets are attracted by the sight of large groups of Pikmin in cavalry formation and will swoop down to seize them. However, Scarponets do not eat Pikmin, and they will drop any seized Pikmin after a short time. The reason for this behavior is unknown, but I look forward to further research in the area. Never found the exposing snitchbug. The Skitterleaf, or the Rust pseudoarbicans, skitterling family. The skitterling is a relative of the pond skater that sheds its wings and adapted to life on the ground. With no residual trace of its airborne past, the skitterleaf can neither fly nor skid across the surface of the water. Traveling the skier skates? The wings have since evolved into the leaf-like structure on its back, which serves to hide the skitterleaf through mimicry. It appears quite effective, as few predators can see through this clever disguise. Domesticated skitterleafs, however, the Rus mortifolia skitterling family, is a skitterling variant that resembles dead leaves. Its legs are developed in specific ways. Their front claws capture prey, while the flat hind legs are suited for running and swimming. Its highly tuned senses keep it still for any creature that but Pikmin. Once it gets its claws in its prey, it doesn't easily let go. Recent research has revealed that its camouflage has a second purpose beyond hunting. Scavengers are fooled by its disguise into carrying its eggs, thereby expanding its population. It's interesting that they only attack Pikmin because they are so weak and because they lack planning that you can kill them. But when there's a leader, the Pikmin are ferocious. Weird things. The Dweevils. The fiery Dweevil, the Mandarachnia napalmans, or Napalmans, Dweevil family. Members of the Dweevil family are known for carrying objects of stunning size on their backs, then mimicking them. Fiery Dweevil is one species in this family. Generally, this is a very gentle insect that feeds on grass nectars. But when faced with danger, the fiery Dweevil ignites flammable internal gases, juts out its jaw, and spews scorching flames. Jesus. As this clearly makes it a rather dangerous insect, it is best not to linger directly in front of it. The Dweevil, the Mandarachnia volticula, Dweevil family. Members of the Dweevil family are known for carrying objects of the stunning size on their backs and mimicking them. The Dweevil is one species in this family. They seem to have no particular preference for which objects they carry on their backs, as they will carry anything they can lift. They boast an internal organ that generates electrical charges, which the Dweevil releases when it senses danger. The Hydra Dweevil, or the Mandarachnia aquatis, Dweevil family. The Hydra Dweevil is one member of an insect family known for mimicking objects by carrying them on their backs. Double points of differentiation with other members of the species have been confirmed, such as body color and behavioral patterns, but none of these suggest major deviations in the creature's genetic structure. This makes it clear that this is a relative of the family. When attacked by enemies, the Hydra Dweevil spits out bodily fluids in response. Spacesuits corrode and oxidize when they come in contact with this liquid. I'm going pretty fast through this first paragraph because it's always the same one. The ice-blown Dweevil, the Mandarachnia glacius. Give me a moment. Dweevils have varying body colors in response to their feeding habits. Each species feeds on different types of plants and small animals, so the symbiotic bacteria that creates their pigmentation differs as well. That explains a lot. The ice-blown Dweevil lives in cold habitats and spews frigid gas. Jesus. The ice-blown Dweevil lives in cold habitats and spews frigid gas, so the workings of its symbiotic bacteria are dulled and it retains its natural color, which is white. It's been confirmed that in more temperature climates where food that the fiery Dweevil eats is readily available, the ice-blown Dweevil's collaboration is much beechier. So they help each other? Well, there's a lot of food, but when there isn't, they don't? What? confused a lot. The Venom Dweevil under Mandaragnia Venom. It's not the Dunch Dweevil. The Venom Dweevil is one member of the Dweevil family, which is known for mimicking objects by carrying them on their backs. These insects often carry the carcasses of other life forms on their backs. Apparently, this is not for the purpose of transporting them as food, but instead is another example of their mimic behavior. The Venom Dweevil produces two different chemical compounds within its body, which forms poisonous gas when mixed and expelled. This gas is used only for self-defense. Now we go out of the Dweevil family with the Arachnoids, the Clavofictosphaera, Arachnid family. This bio-like creature has distinctive yellow stripes on its black carapace. It spins webs in high-traffic areas and waits for prey to blunder into them. Unlike its relatives in the Arachnoid and Dweevil families, it's bisexual and has 8 legs. Some theorize that its gynandry is meant to aid in reproduction, though of course it cannot reproduce on its own. There is another theory that this species is in fact 2 organisms with opposing genders stuck together. But since no one has ever found a 4-legged single-sex specimen, this remains speculative. So he's female and male? But he can't have sex with themselves, of course. Otherwise you would see some with arachnoid babies. They would just be used as food. The baldy long legs are the Pseudoarachnia calvitium arachnor family. The shaggy long legs that has lost its hair. It has similarities to the beady long legs, but it doesn't secrete wax from its exoskeleton and thus lacks its cousin's unique patterning. The absence of wax also allows small insects to climb its legs without slipping. Its central orb splits horizontally, but researchers have yet to determine the significance of this difference. And yeah, the beady long legs doesn't have that horizontal one, it's more vertical. That's interesting. We've never seen a beady long legs outside of Pikmin 1 and 2. Where are they? Bastards. The mana legs of the Pseudoarachnia navarronia is back. Arachnor family. The species of the Arachnor family fuses with machinery at a crucial point in the maturation process, giving it the ability to fire energy bursts from the launcher beneath its orbicular torso. However, the mana legs itself is not in control of this weapon. Instead, the mechanical portions of its structure appears to automatically acquire and attack targets. The mana legs has a gentle disposition, and as a member of the Arachnor family, it has no natural enemies. It is particularly difficult to understand why the species would develop such awesome offensive capabilities, leading to rumors among the scientific community that it was the machinery that approached the Arachnor and proposed a symbiotic relationship. But then there's a question as to why the machinery did it and not the spider itself. And how would machinery do that? Machines don't live on their own. Questions. Groovy long legs, the only new one. The Pseudoarachnia discopetus, Arachnor family. This species has some remaining organic internal organs, but its carapace and eyes are made up of inorganic material. All 19 of its eyes are actually photoelectric sensors that the species uses to precisely locate its prey. The gas emitted from the posterior of its first leg joints includes a chemical substance that, after making contact with another organism's brain, temporarily controls that organism's actions. The groovy long legs uses this natural phenomenon called the endless dance to make its prey jump between its legs while it moves around in bizarre rhythms. The entire interaction is seemingly odd for a living organism, but the line between organic and inorganic on this planet is not always clear. Fair enough. There he is, the anode beetle, the Scarabum electrodea scarab beetle, which hasn't been seen a lot. As most things, never mind. This specimen is representative of an insect hybrid that uses electricity in addition to glycogen for its energy. Although difficult to confirm due to their microscopic size, tiny hairs on the creature's leg causes the friction that generates the electrical charge. The electrical charge is processed by the creature's internal battery structure and then stored in an electrical field. As this field reaches critical levels, surplus electricity is emitted, resulting in a low voltage current that is transmitted between specimens. It can shock other creatures in the immediate vicinity. Considering this process, it can be surmised that the largest impetus to pack behavior is not so much for the synergistic effect producing as a pack, as it is to take advantage of this most effective means of group preservation. Yeah, well, preserve themselves, but don't propagate more. The iridescent flint beetle or the Paleoenvelopans, flint beetle family. Flint beetles are known to hide in the grass until approached, at which point they jump out and scurry around. This creature keeps undigested food pellets in their stomachs to sustain them through water, but given the right stimulus, they will spit them out. Recent research has revealed that these pellets are enveloped in a membrane that seals and preserves them in a sterile, airtight environment. If kept at room temperature, it seems that this pellet membrane will keep its contents fresh for up to 6 months. Probably. Membrane may be made from the same substance that gives the exoskeleton of the flint beetle its beautiful sheen. Why is Doodlebug first and then the rest is the green beetle? I'm not sure. Doodlebug or the Pili-Flatulorum, flint beetle family. While life forms that excrete foul musks to warn of danger are not rare, the doodlebug is the only species known to release flatulence when active above ground. Interestingly enough, since it's merely releasing the gas created by the decay of the contents of the creature's intestines, it does not have a special musk-producing organ. This means the creature is in fact merely flatulating. Spectral analysis of the rank gas indicates it contains not only methane, but hydrogen sulfide as well, making the flatulence a grade 13 biohazard. There it is in glint beetle or the Pileorchus glint beetle family. This one's still a flint beetle, but dying, and this one is just another family. This variety of beetle consumes subterranean minerals. Due to the fact that it rarely emerges above ground, sightings of this particular species are extremely rare. While minerals are this beast's primary source of food, the beetle itself does not have the ability to digest these minerals. Instead, metabacteria living inside the beetle's stomach chemically break down the minerals. The resulting purified metal is discharged, but rare metals such as gold and platinum crystallize onto the iridescent glint beetle shell, resulting in the beautiful laminated shimmer. Only gold and platinum stay, but I haven't seen gold on it. I mean, platinum on it's only gold. The Metite, or the Metivius infiltratus, Metite family. These parasitic insects feed on eggs. Upon reaching maturity, they excrete a special pheromone that attracts females of a particular species, enticing these females to swallow the Metite whole. Pikmin, however, seem to dislike the scent. After entering the host female's body, the Metites lay their own eggs inside the host's eggs just prior to the host spawning. Scutterchuck, the Herodecacerid bristolosum. Yeah, I'm wrong. Herodecacerid, or the Siderid bristolosum. Evil family. Its main offensive strategy is to launch the crystal it carries on its back, otherwise it's completely defenseless. In most circumstances, it's a peaceful herbivore whose diet consists primarily of moss. When in danger, however, it wastes no time defending its territory by breaking small rocks and hurling them at the threat. In order to ensure that it has a steady supply of rocks with which to defend itself, it shares its habitat with calcified crushblood larvae, so it can make use of the shells they cast off. But we don't see a calcified crushblood or their larvae in 3 or 4, and not even a crushblood adults in 4. Where are they? The overgrown chicken crystal is only made so that they have a reason of carrying the shells of the babies they make. And you don't see them. The skeeter skate, the Gyarados clavomacula, or from the spitter spatter family. It skates on water at high speed thanks to tiny hairs on the tip of its feet. These hairs are coated in an ultra-hydrophobic substance to minimize friction against the water's surface. Its long proboscis functions as a straw to take in water, which is stored in a reservoir in its head, Swallows are spotted as a weapon against small insects. While taking in water, it also takes in microscopic plankton, meaning that its prime means of defense is also a feeding mechanism. Then you have the marker skate, or Gyrodus pteroprojecta, spider family as well. The subspecies of the skeeter skate is adapted to life in muddy wetlands. It uses its straw-like proboscis, the inside of which is packed with densely grown hair, to capture any plankton living in the mucky water and filter out everything else. When an enemy approaches, it will threaten them by shooting out a murky substance. This combination of muddy water and gastric juices has a higher viscosity, so it can essentially bury Pikmin, and a lot of other stuff, in dirt. The spectralids. The white spectralids are the Phenestoria alba-prismatis, Flutterby family. It's remarkably similar to its unmarked brethren, but the telltale wing patterns and lone pair of hind legs give it away. It sticks to its own habitat for the most part, though it may fly away to reach a flower or escape a bull blacks. It will soon return to its home. The white variety gathers no nectar, but sometimes may be found carrying raw material. The yellow spectralids are the Phenestoria prismatis, Flutterby family. The primary morphological difference from other spectralids is the eye-like spot on its hind wings. When crossbred with red spectralids, the offspring has a 25% chance of inheriting these spots on orange-colored wings. Will this count as new subspecies? Not sure. There are red spectralids, or the Phenestoria russoprismatis, Flutterby. Its red wings have several spots, while its long spot on each wing have on this yellow variety. Its scales contain trace amounts of ultra-spicy flakes, which are mixed into its saliva as it sucks up the nectar from flowers. The combined flakes, saliva, and nectar are refined into ultra-spicy nectar inside the creature, which it uses as a growth supplement for its eggs. Despite this, its reproductive capabilities are quite low. It is for this reason that the red variant fetches astronomical prices among collectors. A snowflake fluttertail, Hopilefictus nividae, snow swallow. The cooling cycle in its body uses ammonia as a refrigerant to chill the moisture it absorbs from the air until it reaches a supercooled state, by then spraying it out of the several vents in its belly. The snowflake fluttertail creates a delicate cocoon out of ice to both protect itself and freeze its prey. Its rolled-up, spirally proboscis evolved from an upper jaw and can catch and tie up prey with the fine hairs on its surface. Though it's been mixed with a type of swallowtail butterfly, this creature is actually more closely related to moths. One might extrapolate that its ancient ancestor was unable to adapt to the cooling climate and therefore went extinct. So we're never going to see an actual moth. But it is still a moth. Gotta drink some more. Meantime, you can enjoy the scene. Even the eyes look frigid. But it looks like it's cocooned very cutely. It also looks like a flying insect bird. Mix of cocoon, butterfly, and birds. And ski goggles. The creeping chrysanthemum, or the Taraxacum rovinia. Chrysanthemum family. Like Pikmin, the chrysanthemum is a member of a group of creatures with ambulatory root structures. This creature is known as a mimic, but because it is actually a form of plant, its label is not entirely accurate. It uses its mimicry to lie in wait and ambush prey, unrecognized even by Pikmin despite being members of the same class of organisms. It relies on preying upon other creatures to provide sustenance, so it has no need of leaves for photosynthesis. Generally speaking, the role of plants within an ecosystem is as a producer species, as plants are generally found at the bottom of the food pyramid. However, on this strange planet, the line between producer plants and consumer plants is blurred. Then we have the startlespore, or Taraxacum fungensis, also a chrysanthemum family. The defining characteristics of the fungi that grow from its head differ from that of the chrysanthemum family's creeping chrysanthemum, but the makeup of the body out of which they grow is mostly the same. As a result, we can theorize that like fellow Ambuloradices, the bulbmen, this species is on an evolutionary variation, That the body is a parasite that is nestled inside a group of mushrooms. Because the hosts are mushrooms, the startle spore cannot photosynthesize. Instead, it gains nutrients by catching its prey with highly poisonous fluids, or by absorbing the nectar in the ground left behind as creatures killed by its poison decompose. How does he know about Bulkmen if he don't see them? Where are the Bulkmen? The breadbug, the Pancerus glutinae, breadbug family. Yellow breadbug competes for many of the same food sources as Pikmin, but its thick-skinned hide allows it to withstand most Pikmin group attacks. However, some researchers claim to have observed breadbugs being overwhelmed by massive numbers of Pikmin when produced food. Now you have the Pancerus gigantus, or the giant breadbug of the breadbug family. This gargantuan species of the greater breadbug family has a torso so perfectly square that it almost looks like it was formed in a mold. For a brief period after birth, the giant breadbug competes for food with smaller breadbugs, but upon reaching maturity, it seeks out much larger prey. This is the primary reason two species with smaller feeding habits can coexist in the same habitat. Of course it is. The Gildamandui. The Salamandra falsorum juvenile version of the amphibiland family. Immediately after hatching, this species presents itself in a gilled, tadpole-like form and grows its legs after about a week. This juvenile Gildamander specimen is estimated to be about 1 month old, due to the presence of an oar-like growth on its back and the fact that it has already emerged onto land. Living ore has substances similar to treasure within it, peculiar sands, and has an effect on both sensors and Pikmin. However, the lantern organ on its head is still undeveloped and can only emit very faint electromagnetic waves. For this reason, juvenile Gildamanders often hide out of sight to avoid Pikmin attacks. Now we have an actual Gildamander, Salamandra falsorum amphibiland family. The oar-like growth in its back is a coagulated bodily fluid that includes a substance similar to sparklium, which can make our mechanical sensors go berserk, to use a technical term. This living ore emits a scent that lures the creature's prey, so it's also important for the feeding process. The lantern-like organ atop its head emits electromagnetic waves that are known to affect Pikmin and onions, confusing them into thinking the Gildamander is the leader, allowing it to withdraw Pikmin directly from the onion. However, it cannot go so far as to command them into squad, so the Pikmin will often hide under cover and are able to avoid ingestion. That explains a lot of stuff, but it was probably already obvious, because the moment we killed him in Olimar's shipwreck tale, it was gone. That explains why they were acting so strange. Very important to know. The miniature snootwhacker, the Nesperala melona, adolescent, the snootwhack family. Immediately after birth, this species' skin starts to harden. For long, it will reach the same impenetrable toughness as that of an adult. Adult snootwhackers dexterously use their trunks to grab food from high tree branches. Excuse me. But juveniles consume fruits and nuts that have fallen to the ground, as well as other types of terrestrial flora. Specimens' leg and dorsal muscles are undeveloped compared to those in their nose, so they lack the strength to maintain their posture and easily lose their balance. Now we have the mammoth snootwhacker, the Nesperala melona, snootwhack family. The long nose in this specimen has neither bone nor cartilage, but is made up entirely of muscle and can be flexibly curved and extended. Its tough hide consists of densely layered collagen lattices that cover almost its entire body, leaving only the regular skin on the belly exposed. Jesus. The fully developed trunk is large and quite heavy, so the mammoth snootwhacker usually rolls it inward to carry it closer to its center of gravity. But if its territory is invaded, it will extend the trunk and flail it around, even using it to strike a perceived enemy. Just like a juvenile snootwhacker, their nose comprises a disproportional amount of their body weight, resulting in poor balance if attacked from behind or from the side. Even an adult of this species is easily knocked over. Hitting them at the front will not do shit, because the trunk is protecting them. Okay. Gotcha. Sun squish, or the Ovgonium soleus, squish squirt family. A type of primitive organism called a protochordate. In its juvenile state, it has a skeleton-like structure called a notochord. It flaps its fin tail to move and lives within other creatures' eggs as it grows. As its body develops, it starts to exhibit mollusk-like qualities, but its highly exposed external stomach can directly digest prey on contact and can also be used for locomotion. Oh. The bloating in its stomach, and it's also used for the chook chook, for moving around, I mean. God, I can almost not think. The Fulix. The Mononucleus talacotus, Gulix family. A member of the Gulix family, this primitive life form is made up of a single cell, which is quite odd given its size. Its nucleus is shaped like a bulbous star, and individuals move by using the thin fat at the end of its flagellum-like tail to expand. Give me a moment. There you go. Quickly expand and contract its gelatinous body. The nucleus is removed, its soft body loses all structure and splatters, but as long as the nucleus is still alive, the Fulix can return to its original form. Usually the Fulix will mimic nectar and wait for its prey. Its gel, which includes fire-extinguishing fluids, will then expand to capture and feed on unsuspecting organisms. Yeah. Just disgusting. Downy staggered, or the Cirripedis anacondae, fledgling, Canadian family. Due to a common phenomenon known as imprinting, this baby will recognize anything that it sees or hears within a given length of time after it hatches as its parent, and consequently follows it around. However, the downy snagret has two specific conditions for imprinting. The first is that the target must be tall and blue, and the second is related to the sound of its cry. This means that it will never make a mistake with something as small as we are, and it will instead recognize it or us as food. Since it's still a fledgling, the downy snagret does not go underground to feed. Instead, it stays on the surface where there's plenty of food. It looks harmless enough, but beware. Its parents may be hiding nearby until the baby is old enough to fend for itself. The Cirripedis anacondae, or the burrowing snagrets, they mean family. The majority of snagret species lie in wait to ambush and capture prey, with a body type perfectly adapted to such sudden strikes. It violently attacks small surface-dwelling insects. Distributed across a relatively wide range, subspecies of snagret suited to the varying soil conditions have emerged, making a snagret the most geographically represented species besides the bulborb. Visually resembling the burrowing snagret is a burrowing snarrow, the range of which partially overlaps with the snagret's range. While the two may appear similar, when pulled from the ground, they can be distinguished by the presence or absence of tail and wing markings. The wattlequaff, or the Sloppus gordicus, gourdfeather family. Its overdeveloped respiratory muscles allow it to suck in large volumes of air through its long, thick beak while feeding. Its feathers are too small to use for flying. The current theory is that this is due to its niche position in the ecosystem being quite secure thanks to a lack of natural predators, and little competition for food in its habitat. However, with the expansion of Pikmin territory recently, its numbers have been gradually declining. Who would have thunk it? Pikmin? Oh my! Scorch cake. They're Crunchcrustus embryo, shellcake family. Related to bivalves, it uses its internal muscles to dexterously manipulate its upper and lower shells. This ability allows it to squash eggs and small ambuloradicus like Pikmin, thus returning nectar to the ground. It then feeds off the microorganisms and moths that benefit from the nectar. To further facilitate the growth of its food, Scorch cake will secrete oils from its body through its shell and onto the ground. It then sets that area on fire. Perhaps it's a way to improve soil fertility. For some reason, putting stuff on fire improves soil fertility. And then forest fires are bad, oh no. It's like they don't know what they want. The shellcake or the Punchcrustus ampero, shellcake family. This species has muscular organs that can create electricity by using ion gradients within densely layered rows of electricity-generated cells, which are arranged in an asymmetrical series. It uses its blood-like protrusions to instantly shock its prey and squashes it. The squashed prey acts as fertilizer, improving the quality of the soil so that the microorganisms and moths the shellcake feeds on can thrive. There it is. The freeze cake or the Punchcrustus cryonae, shellcake family. By emitting virgin air from one side of its shell, it can freeze and squash any prey that approaches too closely. Foods can be hard to find in extremely cold climates, so one theory is that the species has developed some kind of mechanism that allows it to store its prey for long periods of time. So it's a walking freezer. Puffstool. The bastard. No, wait, yeah. A type of Fungarussus elasticis spore of its family. A type of umbelofungus, the current working theory is that the puffstool evolved from a more common species of fungus that gained animal-like characteristics over time, including the ability to walk. When it senses danger, it will scatter spores from under its cap, releasing a hallucinogen that confuses its attackers. The hallucinogenic compound in the spores is only effective against the species' natural enemies, the Pikmin, causing them to mistake it for their leader. Pikmin who fall into this trap are then used as workers to maintain nutrition or defenses for the puffstool. But they don't turn into Puffman or Mushman or whatever. Rumen, Bookrooms, Bickrooms. Puffman is what that name is. Hoxtools are the parasites to the fungi elasticis, the actual bastard of the Sporvids. Exactly. The Sporvid family. Just like the puffstool, the toxtool is neither animal nor fungus, but a mix of the two, or an ambulofungus. It doesn't serve a producer or consumer role in the ecosystem, but functions instead as a decomposer. It primarily parasites other living organisms by blanketing them with its spores. However, the toxtool can infect a deceased specimen as well. Its Hefe is able to move the muscles and control the body as it brings it back from the dead. The way the fungal filaments grow differs based on the host organism in some cases. It may cause the host to wander around in search of food to facilitate a more nutrient-rich fungal culture medium. They can also just use the host as a means to scatter more spores. It's what they do with, for example, the moldy dwarf Wilborp. Or the parasitic pseudofungi elasticis hostis, Sporvid family. This is an example of a young bulbor body that's been affected by fungal filaments. Now a host, it unconsciously continues to seek out and ingest food, all the while scattering large amounts of spores out of the spore sacs on its back until it can no longer move. After all host body activity ceases, the specimen mutates into a fungal culture that will eventually become a juvenile toxtool. The Molly Slucius. Parasitis of pseudofungi elasticis hostis, Sporvid's family. Both the nervous system and slime-producing organs of the specimen have been invaded by fungal filaments, which is why it scatters spores as it moves. It will also shake spores onto other creatures, thus infecting new hosts and expanding the toxtool's habitat and range. Once the host body ceases to function, it can no longer serve as a fungal culture medium, because its bodily fluids dry up and the corpus shrinks. At that point, the host body is abandoned. The pyroclasmic sludge, the Sulcina vulcanis of the sludge family. A species of terrestrial snail coated in flammable mucus instead of the traditional shell. The creature stays lubricated through constant secretion of mucus so that the fires never reach its skin. The most fascinating aspect of these creatures is their instinctive ability to avoid causing widespread fires by carelessly brushing plants. better than predator Porculus barbivolta, Nambush family. The hair covering his face works as a capacitor. It charges electricity by rubbing the hairs to build static. Then discharges it at enemies intruding on its territory. It's more territorial than aggressive, attacking only when threatened rather than to hunt prey. It has several qualities unique to this ecosystem, such as breastfeeding its young, which may someday give rise to a whole new taxonomy of fauna here. Maybe in Pikmin 5 or DLC, whatever they want to do. Not confirmed. They just made Pikmin 4. Yamamuta! Oh my gosh, they have all colors now. And he's also not singing, it's the song itself and not him whispering. Fuck. The embellished Hortulatus Symmetria. The embellished asymmetrical arms of the Mamuta are among its most notable features. Feeding on seeds and fruit, the Mamuta is known to actually sow and grow plant species. While other species have exhibited seed-bearing behavior for the purpose of storage, the Mamuta is the only species so far known to actually cultivate fields of plants. The Porculan, Castanatum pricklerus, sharpshell family. Its needle-covered armor is soft and quite exposed. Furthermore, it has a cowardly disposition, so when it senses even the slightest danger, it shoots out its spikes. Generating new spikes requires significant amounts of caloric energy. This creature requires significant amounts of food. This likely explains why, when it scrounges through garbage, it sucks up not just the insects it finds, but also the trash itself. They have ingested a few of the Das's Dolphin's part too, but those could never be mistaken for trash. That's a trash boy. Honeywisp. Nectara fatus, Honeywisp family. This floating life form drifts effortlessly on the winds. Upon death, its physical structure easily collapses, and as a creature is particularly elusive and difficult to catch, no sample specimen have been acquired as of yet. If you could simply recover a live specimen, or live sample, research on this species would likely proceed more smoothly. Puffy blowhawk or Sosinflata, blowhawk family. Each species of blowhawk uses internally generated hydrogen to inflate a flotation bladder and hover above the ground. The creature's electrified pulse creates a sash of color that flows along the surface of its body, making it a particularly peaceful species in the blowhawk family. Precisely how it is able to internally destabilize its highly explosive hydrogen and simultaneously generate electricity remains a mystery. The puffy blowhawk blows leaves and grass around to eat the insects underneath, maintains their buoyancy by using its fins and releasing air through blowholes. This enables it to float effortlessly even in the breeze. I went very fast through this because this is the third time that I'm reading this with a puffy blowhawk. Apologies. The icy blowhawk is different. The Sus Aer Frigadea or something. Blowhawk family. This creature possesses 3 lungs. An air sac uses its primary respiratory organ, a flotation bladder that gives it its buoyancy, and a cold sac that stores cold air. Like the puffy blowhawk, its buoyancy is a result of the hydrogen produced by electrolysis. Its icy breath is condensed carbon dioxide, much like the snowy blowhawk. Different species within the blowhawk families have many features in common when you look closely at the structure and characteristics of their internal organs. Yeah, true. So during blowhawk, Ursus Jokerpitia is a close relative of the puffy blowhawk, but his breath is significantly weaker. However, his breath does contain a petal-withering plant hormone that causes flowers to instantly lose their petals. Although his breath has not been studied in detail, analysis of the chemical compounds involved hold great promise for the biotechnology sector. Jelly floats. Let's just spot a jelly float. Cephalus dotalium jelly float. This native jelly float is indigenous to the region. Fortunately, it is currently endangered, as its habitat is being overwhelmed by hostile and invasive species. The one is the greater spotted jelly float, or the Cephalus fortexia jellyfloat family. Vivid pink coloration is the most noticeable characteristic of this floating life form. This invasive species is native to the region, having appeared to have recently arrived on wind currents. The luminescent organs atop its head attract prey, which it then sucks up and consumes with its lowest orifice. Unlike jellyfish tentacles do not have nematocysts, so there is no danger in touching them. Walpoles. Amphicarus frodiferorum larva. Amphituber family. The yellow woollyhop spawns in early spring, laying its eggs on low-hanging tree branches and shrubs growing in or near lakes and ponds. Such unorthodox amphibious behavior is a defense mechanism protecting the eggs from predation of blue Pikmin and water dumples. The woollyhops, while hopping near the shoreline in early spring, is thought to be a method of driving predators away from the walpole eggs. Woollyhop, yellow variety. Amphicarus frodiferorum, Amphituber. This magnificent species has remarkably bright coloration compared to the rest of the Amphituber family, as well as 3 lateral spots. 6, but the same size, so it's fine. The species seems to have lost some swimming proficiency with the evolutionary adaptation that granted it greater jumping ability. Yellow woollyhop inhabits aquatic shallows and shows an instinctive drive to jump upon and squash smaller creatures. The woollyhop, or the Amphicarus albino tuber family. It is believed that juvenile woollyhops were once carried by underground currents into caverns, where they thrived in the dark habitat. This troglodytic species of woollyhops coloration results from generations of cave dwelling and lack of sunlight. Comparative differences between the size and shape of this woollyhop and other species are thought to be the result of natural selection at work, choosing traits better suited to life in a subterranean environment. Chillyhop. Amphicarus frigidae. Amphituber family. When squashing prey with its mighty leap, the chillyhop secretes a bodily fluid made up of ammonium nitrate, urea, and water. This causes an endothermic reaction that rapidly freezes its prey, making its attacks all the more lethal. Squashing the prey, it gets sucked up through the chillyhop's belly. Since the species can store its food in a slightly chilled state without eating it for a time, easily adapts to environments where prey is scarce, because it just keeps it frozen and then just squashes it when it wants to eat it. Master Hope with Amphicarus frodiferorum advanced stage. It's widely believed that yellow woollyhops and other related species can continue to grow until they start breeding. After that, their growth rate plummets, however, in safe environments, ones that lack natural predators, for example. Some individuals of the species may forgo reproduction altogether and continue growing until they reach gigantic proportions. The yellow woollyhops' telomerase enzymes are particularly active, which prevents their body cells from aging. Under the right conditions, it's not unusual for some individuals to reach over 50 years in age. The telomeres in their chromosomes don't wither. Interesting. Water dumple, or Ichthyosa felinis. Sounds like a cat. The start of cats. Grubduck family. A resident of freshwater pools and marshes, this aquatic creature regularly feeds on insects that land on the surface of the water. It shares a nearly identical skeletal structure with its close relative and terrestrial cousin, the bulborb. This may offer clues to its evolutionary origin and suggest it only recently emigrated to an aquatic habitat. Barkring blino, Narolingus biscuitum, Lips family. Many assume it's undeveloped due to its large eyes and lack of fins, but this is simply its normal fully grown form. Though its dorsal and ventral fins have atrophied, the long caudal fin allows to compensate for this. It can leap high enough out of water to catch low-flying prey. The scales comprising the round patches along the sides are known to turn light pink during breeding season. Pricklepuff, or Hispinius pardos, Pricklepuff family. Its hidden spikes evolved from scales that were once on its forehead. The Pricklepuff uses them to charge and chase off unknown creatures that enter its territory. Excuse me. Its liver and ovaries contain powerful nerve toxins, accumulated from ingesting shellfish and algae algae with trace amounts of poison. These toxins not only function as alternative pheromones, but also seem to keep predators at bay. However, once it's dead, the Pikmin have no issues carrying this creature back to the onion. The poison is broken down into valuable nutrients. They're just pufferfish, and instead of puffers, they prickle. What it was, but the Ephistudiae Iaciabula, Lobular family. Have a different family? Its size and stubby feet make it look like an octopus, hence the name, but it's closer in anatomy to a starfish. It sleeps during the day but will stay alert for approaching predators, which it drives off by puffing itself up and releasing bubbles. Closer research suggests that the true purpose of the bubbles is to protect its eggs during spawning season. Aristocrab offspring. Oh, that was fleshling aristocrab. Brachiorysis asurio, hatchling, onion shell family. A juvenile peckish aristocrab. Small in size, its right pincer is only half grown. Because of this, it often hunts by hiding underground and lying in wait to ambush its prey. Generally, crabs pass through the larval stages, zooea and megalopa, as they approach juvenile crabhood. Instead, the peckish aristocrab is born with a body shaped like an onion, absorbing its nutrition to the ground and sprouting legs as it grows. Perhaps it is a close relative of species in the Ambuloridices class. So it can also be some kind of Pikmin then. It acts like a Pikmin. But it starts as an onion and then sprout leg and arms and legs afterwards. Peckish aristocrab. Brachiorysis asurio onion cell family. Its unnaturally large claw is used for catching prey, for self-defense, and most surprisingly for its mating call. Most aspects of the aristocrab's life revolve around it, which may explain why they become fearful and docile when the claw is damaged. It would also account for the claw's remarkable regenerative capabilities, which can restore it completely in a single night. It is also known to blow bubbles when under attack, but this is a result of it venting from the wrong discharge valve when under extreme stress. Instead of farting, it blows it out. That's still funny to think about. The grubchucker, Carabia vascora, crab lips family. This bipedal creature walks upright, so its motion is noticeably slow, but the long reach of its pincers is useful for catching prey and tossing it into the white mud on top of its head. When young, its mouth stays closed, and the grubchucker lives on things like shellfish, nuts, and fruits, eating using the small trophy located behind the feelers below its eyes. What? Oh yeah, so these things. Okay. As it grows, its syncypital mount opens and it can start eating larger quantities of food. It has a few natural enemies, primarily due to its height. However, it's often found in dimmer wetlands or on the ground to protect the soft top of its shell from the sun's rays. To protect the lippies. Hermit Chromat. Looking at the eyes and sickle-shaped legs characteristic of squillas, one would think this is a squilla relative. In fact, it is a relative of the hermit crab. The species, however, has migrated from seaside life in a shell instead inhabits burrows in the ground. While its legs appear sickle-like, they are pincers that have evolved into a fin shape. These beasts feed on small creatures that pass by its lair, dragging them inside to eat them. Nope, they eat them out and then go back in. Don't do it like Pikmin 2 anymore. Camombrus rustica chromat. And this is a bug-eyed chromat or the Camombrus subterranea of the chromat family. Like its cousin, the hermit chromat, it makes its home in a burrow rather than a shell. It has abnormally overdeveloped eyes with which to detect prey in cloudy water or low visibility mud. These enormous eyes can perceive circular polarized light, as well as the ultraviolet and infrared spectrum. They see a lot. It is well protected from predators, allowing it to live for upward of 50 years, and grow to immense size by repeated ecdysis, so molting. Rusted rumpup, Doriarius capillium, Armorokit family. His body is covered in a hard carapace, and it has an extremely ferocious personality. It spreads its sharp fanged jaws to catch its prey. The crusted rumpup suffers from poor vision, but it uses the fine hairs on the lower part of its tail and the ball-shaped sensory organ in its tip to detect faint quasi-electrostatic fields emitted by other organisms. In short, it's other ways to sense the predators and prey. It can feel electromagnetic stuff, or electrostatic stuff. Early clams. The Ostrum mandamuscae, snare shell family. Using the pearl that takes shape inside its body as bait, this creature lures prey into its interior and traps it within its shell to feed. It's also worth noting that this pearl may just be an amalgamation of outside materials wrapped in a viscous gelatin exterior. On the frequent occasions when it cannot gather food for itself, this creature can also obtain nutrients within the symbiotic algae within its body photosynthesizes. For this reason, it can often be found with its mouth open on shoals or sandy beaches that get a lot of sunshine. Because it's photosynthesizing. Gotcha. Toady Bloister. Molluscid minionicus. Mollusking family. This species of creature has yet to complete its evolution from bloom-capped bloister to the more advanced raging bloister. Compared to the latter, this creature is substantially smaller. In fact, its mandibles do not protrude as significantly as the raging bloisters, as due in part to the fact that, like most mollusks, its vital organs are located deep within this creature's carapace. The flower-like appendage on its back is actually a gill. It prefers a watery habitat from which it can capture unsuspecting small prey with its sticky tendrils. And the bloom-capped bloister is the next species, or next evolution, from the toady bloister, Molluscid florera mollusking family. The origin species from which the raging and toady bloister evolved. It still carries a large cell in its back. Oh, so this one is first, then the toady bloister, and then the raging bloister then. That makes sense, I guess. I'm not sure. Still carries a large cell in its back. The exposed head and legs are covered by a layer of tough muscle, so it barely moves even when attacked. On the other hand, it has extremely sensitive flower-like gills that are characteristic of the mollusking family. When the gills are touched, the bloister cannot breathe and must open its shell, exposing its soft body. That's why. Amphibious with a gentle demeanor and simply swallows up anything that happens to enter its field of vision. Kind of like a living vacuum cleaner. But we never see the raging bloister in Pikmin 4. Only in Pikmin 2. The bog swallow, with a gastropoidioculus oculi, polyocular slug. This species prefers to inhabit cloudy, stagnant water like the swamps, and spends most of its life buried in mud and hiding. Using its 6 eye-like sensory organs to detect minute movements in the water and vibrations on nearby land, will then forcefully leap out of the water and suck up its prey to feed. With its entirely cartilaginous skeleton and somewhat primitive features like its round chinless mouth, it appears to be some sort of primeval creature. Is this very old or prehistoric? Or was it just a worm? No, it's a slug. Not a snail's slug. Water rate, or the Amphibiosapiens. All that is known about this creature stems from a few sightings deep underground. All reported sightings feature the same core set of details. A giant viscous form with a clear hazy sea nothing like hard candy. One theory holds that it may be the ectoplasmic incarnation of a kind of psychic phenomenon. As is usually the case with such theories, it is very difficult to prove. All witnesses report being suddenly overcome with fear upon sighting the creature, forcing a state of panic and near insanity. In fact, every report contains an inordinate amount of extremely vague details, which led to suspicions that exhaustion and fear have caused some simple natural phenomenon to be viewed as a living creature. So because we think it, it exists. It's like Blood from Inspector, some kind of anime. And because we think about it, it exists. Because we talk about it, it exists. I don't know why, but maybe between the years of Pikmin 1 and 2, people were talking about the Gulix and thought like, maybe we'll find some Gulix type human. And here it is. Because people are talking about it. That's just my guess about it. The Smoky Prog. the Megavum vaporus. Smoky Prog's body is constantly deteriorating, so collecting a living sample has proven difficult and research into the species has progressed at a glacial rate. However, by examining the genes adhered to the Smoky Prog's eggs, it's been confirmed that they are in fact Mamuta eggs. This discovery allows for the possibility that Mamuta that do not develop properly and hatch become Smoky Progs. If hypothetically a Mamuta were to remain above ground at night and absorb glow sap, that might impact the nutrients levels within its egg yolk. That change could lead to the embryo's inviability or break down its enzymes. Then maybe. So these are Mamuta eggs? Smoky Prog comes from the Mamuta? That makes it even more dangerous. And the Mamuta just doesn't want to kill, but then the Smoky Prog, because of some sort of problem, turn into this ghost-like prog thing that's just angry at Pikmin. Whatever. The Ancient Sire Hound. If you harvest mesenchymal stem cells, the Daikin has spurted them. Big dog boy. Big dog boy. Cutie dog boy with color. Yosh. If you harvest mesenchymal stem cells from this gigantic canine creature and cultivate them a glow sap, the generated serum should return Ochi's leafified tail to normal once administered. These results would indicate that 99.9% of the canine creature's DNA matches Ochi's, and that the only difference between Ochi and moss may be the natural presence or absence of a leaf tail. These two theories prove to be true, and would suggest the possibility that these ancient creatures are common ancestors to two canine species from vastly remote star systems. Perhaps there are even more hidden secrets out there that could hint the fascinating and inconceivable truths the universe is set to reveal. That all of you people are reincarnations of everyone who lived at PNF 44, and this dog simply survived everything that happened. How? I'm not sure, and how it breeds, I'm not sure. Where is his family? I'm not sure. That's all we know. Moss. Folicanus amicaris. Only at night. Interesting. Moss. As far as I can tell, Moss has been a leafling pup since birth, and some of her DNA resembles that of the Pikmin. This is the one point in which she differs from Ochi. When Ochi transformed from a standard space dog into a leafling pup, I started to theorize that the Pikmin are in some capacity propagating their DNA in other organisms. The phenomenon in which all those castaways, including myself, became leaflings was very likely caused by being absorbed into the onion. Perhaps that process was also some sort of Pikminification of the body. Pikminified organisms can't leave this planet, so the Pikmin may have been motivated to carry out this process in an effort to secure a permanent leader. Of course, this is all a theory. Pretty much correct one at that. The Rat Pikmin, or the Pikminidae rubrush Pikmin family. Pikmin are a part of the Ambuloratus family, which consists of creatures that exhibit both plant and animal characteristics. A Pikmin will instinctively follow whoever plucks it from the ground, so it is quite common for them to form symbiotic relationships with other species or accept a leader of a different species, as it serves the goal of propagating their home species as a whole. Red Pikmin is the most common Pikmin species. It can be identified by the nose-like protuberance on its head and its highly aggressive behavior. It also has a few surprising and unique qualities. For example, it's immune to extreme heat and fire, despite the fact that it's a living organism. This can be explained by looking closely at its skin and muscle fibers, which are made up of a flame-resistant cellulose. Pikminidae Ouroboros, yellow Pikmin family. It's generally believed that the Pikmin body was originally the root of a plant that has evolved over centuries, if not millennia, developing structures analogous to muscles, neural networks similar to those of a brain, and more. However, yellow Pikmin possess a perfect resistance to electricity, a force which actually poses extreme danger to other organisms. Oddly enough, the species of Pikmin actually seems to enjoy electricity. Their flowers even bloom if they're exposed to an electric current. This fact would lead one to believe that their neural transmission methods are quite different than their own. The species often uses the air like a lamellay in its head to soar to great heights and dig holes. Use their ears to dig holes? Oh, man, they must probably have pretty awful headaches then. Blue Pikmin or the Pikminidae Kairula Pikmin family. The accepted theory is that Pikmin evolved from terrestrial root vegetables, and so would be enabled to breathe underwater if subsequently drowned. Yet the blue Pikmin possesses a gill resembling a mouth in their heads, which enables them to be active underwater. While on land, they leaf and flower like other Pikmin species, and they breathe through the stomata under the skin, indicating they must be naturally amphibious. Pigment proteins on the surface of their body essentially performs the same photosynthetic process as cyanobacteria, for example, which is what gives them their striking color. Or cyan. And you can see them swim. Really cute to see. Rock Pikmin. Pikminidae habisexum. Pikmin. The species is definitely a member of the Pikmin genus, but its body does not share any of the plant-like traits that Pikmin are known for. Instead, it's composed primarily of stone. The stone is actually the chosen host for a parasitic subset of Pikmin species nicknamed Hermikmin. Hermikmin? The chosen host of parasitic subsets. So the stone is the subset of Pikmin parasite chooses a stone to live in. Similar to how a seed can sprout and push through the cracks of a rock, the Pikmin's roots stretch deep into the stone, storing its vital organs in an interior cavity that resembles a crystal geode. Because the species displays characteristics common in parasitism, one could hypothesize that the rock onion and the rock candy bud stockpile stone that will eventually host the rock Pikmin. And the onion is also gathering rocks, so that maybe then when the parasite is entering the rocks, it would turn into rock Pikmin. God damn, Pikmin are just parasites. It's like a red, blue, or yellow Pikmin decides to shed out of their stomata-like skin and then just harvest into a rock. That's how we're saying it. For some reason. Wings Pikmin. The wings on the back of the Pikminidae Volorosa Pikmin family. The wings on the back of this flying Pikmin species closely resemble the wings you would find in a flying creature. It's possible that an ancient winged onion somehow absorbed a flying creature's DNA, which then resulted in a precursor to the winged Pikmin transforming into the species we recognize today. This theory is correct, and onions might also be serving the role of messenger, transmitting new traits and characteristics to their Pikmin. But yeah, damn. It also... It's a question, what comes first, the Pikmin or the onion? Ice Pikmin. Pikminidae habiglacius. Pikmin supposedly evolved from plants, but there are also Pikmin species with bodies made of ice, known as Ice Pikmin. How is this possible? The answer to this question lies in the fact that Ice Pikmin are parasitic by nature, and the ice serves as their hosts. The composition of this type of ice is predictably mostly water, but it resembles saline solution with faint concentrations of trace sodium ions, potassium ions, and calcium ions that function as neurotransmitters. Interestingly, the ice exhibits no visual signs of melting or dripping when exposed to sunlight. This is due to its low temperature core, which continuously creates more ice in order to maintain a consistent size. So they are in a vicious circle of being melted and creating ice, so they don't melt. But it's the Pikmin parasite decides to just get some ice with some calcium, potassium, saline in it, sodium, some salt, calcium, potassium, a banana, some salt or sodium, calcium. Got all over the nerves and neural transmitters that just emits some kind of response towards the entire ice, so that they make arms and legs, and the parasite is just working with that. I don't know, man. I don't know. This just shows more that there's able to have more Pikmin if the parasite decides to not go into stone stuff. Maybe there will be a gold Pikmin because it decides to dig itself into gold. And a gold onion will be made because there's one specified Pikmin made. And then in gold ore will be a Pikmin for some reason. That's what I'm reading here from. That is a possibility. Whatever. White Pikmin are the Pikmin that have an analogous Pikmin family. White Pikmin are born through a color-changing process within white candy pupas, which only grow on the ground. The poison within its body is a type of the terpene alkaloid similar to a toxin of the fauna of certain plant roots. If ingested, it can lead to vomiting, respiratory distress, and complete organ failure, ultimately resulting in death due to cardiac arrest. Though strong, this poison also has medicinal uses, sometimes going by the name aconite or aconite. Pikmin are ambulorodices and evolved from plants. It seems some species retain more of their plant-based evolutionary heritage than others. Purple Pikmin. Slightly larger in size, purple Pikmin can weigh up to 10 times as much as other Pikmin species, and then when thrown to the ground, their impact creates gravitational waves that can actually warp space-time. It's astonishing. The density of their muscle fibers... Oh, my heart. Just saw something flicker to my... The density of their muscle fibers is also much higher than that of other Pikmin, allowing them to transport 10 times as much weight as their average-sized counterparts. The rich purple color is derived from strong polyphenol antioxidants. Like white Pikmin, they are born from underground candy pupas. No related onions have been discovered so far, but I think somewhere underground, deep among the relics of the past, purple onion is waiting to be discovered, which we have. Onion. Sometimes it lies dormant, much like a bulb, but they get up from the ground and provided with the right stimulus, for example a good hard shake, and they will activate sprouting 3 root-like legs. Serves a role similar to the nest or an incubator for the Pikmin, absorbing pellets for the bodies of dead creatures for the nutritional value and then propagating Pikmin the same color as itself. Onions also seem to greedily attempt to replicate certain characteristics of the matter that they absorb by combining with or absorbing on the onions, sometimes of the same type. To confirm that just like Pikmin, an onion has muscle fibers in its body, and though it is unable to walk, it is capable of small range of motion. However, when one breaks down the biological matter, it has absorbed a fuel. It absorbs a fuel similar to bioethanol is created. Onions spray this fuel out of the mouths on their underbellies and are able to fly using their flower-like propellers for stabilization. The onions can also replicate stuff outside of the onions, which then will create a new type of Pikmin, if needed. Imagine one Pikmin still survives and then brings some new type of creature, and then they just take that characteristics in ways of surviving in the Pikmin evolution. Strange, don't you think? The flower-like. Bulbous Lilium. Oh yeah, wait. Lilium Pikminiporta. Canipa family, Bulbous Lilium. While it doesn't sprout or create Pikmin, this specimen is still a type of onion. A bulb like this one can be divided into 7 segments. It's highly nutrient dense and contains strong energizing and alleliptic effects. The compounds responsible for its characteristic smell resemble onion growth hormones. When absorbed by an onion, it fulfills a critical role in Pikmin proliferation by increasing the total number of Pikmin that can be withdrawn from the onion at any given time. Just like onions, it contains muscle fibers, but flower-like has no animalistic qualities to speak of. Wherever you place one near an onion, it may start to move a bit, as though it is trying to roll over so it can be absorbed. That explains why it's rolling over to an onion. Canipa bud. Flora expellus, Canipa family. What looks like the interior of a flower is actually an insectivorous leaf that's developed into an organ. This organ releases a sweet scent from its central pistil, luring small insects into its interior, trapping them. The DNA of those captured organisms is directly absorbed by the plant's cells, which might indicate that this species is attempting to evolve at an astounding speed. But in most cases, the cells essentially self-destruct. The bud then releases Pikmin seeds of the same color and the plant withers. Also, fibers extremely similar to those of an onion were also found in the species, so one could hypothesize that the candy pop bud is an or undeveloped onion. However, there aren't enough details to confirm this theory either way. Pallet posy. Amplus nutrio, pallet wheat. Pallet wheat family. In the stem of the pallet posy, one can observe the muscle fiber unique to half plant, half animal species such as the Pikmin and candy pop bud flowers. So the pallet posy is a species that can be considered a close relative. Although the ability to crystallize nectar is unique to a small group of the pallet wheat family, the fact that these plants reach maturity so quickly and that their pellets contain such high concentrations of the natural nutrients in the soil explains why the Pikmin and so many of the other native species are so aligned on these pellets for sustenance. So these pellets don't exist. None of the creatures would exist? Is that what they say? Because the nectar that they have? Crystallized? Burgeoning spiderwort. Big flora baccae gonditus. It has acids in it. It's alcohol for the Pikmin. Baccae, Bacchus, what I think. Pallet wheat family. Like the pallet posy, while nectar is its primary source of nutrients, this burgeoning spiderwort produces fruit with high amounts of a super spicy compound. Both this plant and the pallet posy are part of the pallet wheat family, but the spiderwort does not crystallize during nectar because of the different fungi that parasitize its roots. Instead, it produces alkaloids that contain those extra piquant compounds. The alkaloids are then extracted and collected by way of the plant's fruits. Whether or not this plant produces super spicy or super sweet compounds seem to depend on the type of fungus with which it interacts. Look at the glow Pikmin, or the Pikmin that is supervillain. Although they've been named glow Pikmin, it's not entirely clear whether or not this species is actually a type of Pikmin. These creatures possess the same fundamental behaviors of Pikmin, like carrying things, propagating, and fighting, but they also share special characteristics such as a leaf atop their heads. That they did not spawn from an onion but a luminol, and they are only active at night or underground. During the day, they revert to the seeds and enter a resting state. It's even more surprising that they exhibit no signs of life. When a glow Pikmin dies, if that word can even be used, it does not expire in the typical sense. Instead, it just becomes a form of light, perhaps a photon, turns to the luminol. Putting aside my scientist hat for a moment, it seems to me that this creature entity may not be a living organism at all, but some manner of spiritual substance. It's a ghost Pikmin, taking revenge on the Bulb. Last thing, the luminol Watercolus Aeternium. Besides the fact that they serve as incubators and nests for glow Pikmin, we know very little about the luminol's ecology. When nocturnal creatures die, a luminol can break them down into glow pellets through its strong dissolving enzymes. This matter, when condensed, becomes glow sap. One might assume glow sap is an extremely dangerous substance, but it has hardly any negative effects. In fact, I've had it administered to me personally as a curative medicine to break down growing leaves. Luminols would only appear in places where an onion was located early in the day. Since they propagate glow Pikmin, one could surmise that they are rhizomes from those onions. Perhaps using its dissolving powers, it returns the nectar that supports the ecosystem back to the soil. So the onion we found above ground has created a luminol place. Because the onion is putting nectar, or slurping up nectar, whatever, into there, the luminol is created so that the nectar will also come back afterwards. Is that how it works? That's a weird ecosystem.